Welcome back, Upper Adams. This is Zach Ramsey with another website training video. Thanks for following along with the series. This is the third video we've released, and if you haven't watched videos 1 or 2, I highly recommend that you do so before watching video 3 so that what I'm about to explain makes a little more sense. So far, you've learned how to log into the site and how to work with some basic apps. In this video, I'm going to show you a few more basic apps, how they work, and how you might want to use them. Let's go up to the site manager and I'll show you what I mean. So here are all of the different pages that I have on my site, remember? The first app that I want to show you actually has an entire page dedicated to it, and it's the calendar app. The reason I'm going to start here is because there's another app I'm going to show you that feeds directly from the calendar. So if I make an example from this one, you'll be able to see two apps, and by updating your calendar, you'll actually be updating two apps, which is nice because it will save you some time. So here you can see the basic calendar app. To edit an event, the easiest thing to do is to double click on a date. So for instance, I can click on the 14th, and then I can say that my event title is homework due. And then I could come down to the description and say homework due. Now just a note, I might want to put it in the event title also, because it won't necessarily, all you're going to see is the event title on the calendar. If you double click, you'll be able to see all of your details. This part over here is pretty self-explanatory. You can change the date and the time. The categories are set up throughout the district to have the same colors across the entire district. So for instance, you can choose whether this is a quiz or a test, a homework for teachers. There's athletic events. So I'm going to label this one as homework. I can also change the recurrence. I could make this happen once a week, once a month, however often I want. I can make it so people have to register. I can list the contacts so people know who to email. And I also want to show you that you can change what viewers can see this. So I can make it so that this is only viewable to myself, it's only viewable to people within my school, only certain teachers, only certain users, and those are the only ones who can see it. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and click save, and there's my event. Now you'll see that it cuts off the main section. You have to hover over it to see what the title was, and you have to double click to actually go in and look at the details of it again. Now one important feature of the calendar is that these events will automatically show up on any calendar below it. So for instance, if I put something on the district calendar, it's automatically going to show up on any calendar underneath the district. If I put something at a school level, then it will show up on teacher calendars because they're under the school, but it won't necessarily show up at the district level. If I do want it to show up at the district level, there is an option when I go into edit, and you go up to post to calendars, you can ask that it be added to an upper level calendar. So for instance, I can request that this goes to Biglerville, and it will send to the administration, and the high school will decide whether this is something that needs to be listed on the high school calendar. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to close that back off because I just want it to show up on my calendars and below. So that's a basic overview of the calendar. I'm going to put a few different examples in so that I can show you our next app. So now you can see I have some of this information plugged into my calendar, and you can see I have a couple of different dates coming up here, and if I hover over them, you'll be able to see the details. The next app that I'm going to show you is the upcoming events app, and that feeds directly from the calendar. So that's why I wanted to put in a few different dates so that you had an idea of what was happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my welcome page. I'm going to add an app. So I go into manage apps. I'm going to add the upcoming events app, and I'm going to save it as teacher events. Then I click done. When I go in to edit it, here's the description of what it is. I do want to show the name. And then I only want this to show, let's say 7 days into the future. So it's only going to pull the next 7 days off of my calendar. And it will only show up to however many I want. Let's say I only want it to show 3 of the next upcoming events. And then for calendar, I want the calendar app. That's my calendar. I'm going to save it. And then let's go view the website. So if you take a look right here, here's my teacher events. Coming up tomorrow, I had homework due, field trip, and baseball practice. And you can see those were all things that just came straight from my calendar. And if I click on them, there you go. Now that I have this upcoming events app, I want to show you one more feature on the calendar. If I go over to my calendar page, this event didn't show up because it was too far into the future. But let's say that as a teacher, I really want to make sure that this event shows up. If I go into the event and click force this event to display, then it will replace one of the other events on my homepage. So when I go back to my welcome site and I view the web page, there you can see there's my event in a distant future that actually shows up because I forced it to show up on my page. Another thing to keep in mind is that this doesn't look very nice, and remember, you can just change that by clicking. If I manage my layout, clicking, dragging, and dropping. That's all there is to it. I'm done. Now I go view the site, and now it's over here in the right hand column. It looks a little bit nicer when it's been compressed like that. So that's just a really nice app. One of the really nice things about it is that just by updating your calendar, you're able to update it. One final app that I do want to show you, if I go back into the managing apps, is the announcements app. So if I click on announcements and I say teacher, I'm going to save it. Here's my teacher notes app. I'm done. I'm going to click on it, and then I can just post any announcements that I want. So I put a few of them down. I'm just going to show you real quick one more time. All you have to do is type in your title, fill in your information. You can choose how long this displays. So for instance, I don't want this to show up until tomorrow or the next day. I can set all of my announcements for the week to show up just one day after another, and when to pull it off, so that my announcements are basically automated. I don't need to worry about them throughout the week. And I can also change who views it. So I could make an announcement that only teachers see when they log into my site, or only students see, something along those lines. So I'm going to click Save. Here you see I have 3 different ones, and if I view my website, there you go. These are all different announcements right here that I made. Obviously yours will be more relevant because you'll be typing notes to your students, or to athletes, or whoever you would type to, but this is what it will look like on your page. So you might, for instance, use it as something I did down here: what's coming, what's updated, what's due. Now one thing to note is that the upcoming announcements and the upcoming events app look pretty similar, so it might not be best to stack them on top of each other like I did here. This is actually an announcement app. So you might want to rearrange your page so that you have different columns and they're spread out. Also, the information tends to be the same, so you might not need both of them on the same page. But I wanted to make you aware that both of these apps were out there. But there you go. Along with the Flex Editor and the About Me, that's 5 different apps that you can start placing on your pages to make your teacher web pages. There's still a few more apps to cover. I'll probably spend a whole video on mini bases. But for the most part, now that you know how the programs work, most of these apps are pretty self-explanatory. If you have any questions about how any of them work, please don't hesitate to email me at webmaster@upperadams.org. And also, once again, if you have any video recommendations, if there's anything you'd like to see or want to know how to do, let me know and we'll try to work that out for you. Thanks again for watching, and have fun building your websites.